For those of you who've been a fan of the channel for a while now, you know I like red-headed characters. Whether it's Vera Rosen from PGR, Yinling from Wuthering Waves, or Naruto's mom from Naruto. You could say that I'm a little bit of a red-headed connoisseur. Gosh, that was so cringe. But there is also another red-headed character that I'm a pretty big fan of that's gone through a couple different revisions and changes over the time that we've seen this character. And that is Danjin from Wuthering Waves. When I saw her preview a little while back, I loved it. I loved the contrast of the smiling face with the dark undertones, the blood on the cheek, and the way that that all unfolded, and it made me really interested to know more about her story. But apparently, she might be a little too controversial, according to our friends over at Wuthering Radio. So we're gonna go in, we're gonna see what they have to say on the matter and find out, is she really? I don't know, let's see. Remember, full link to the video in the description below.
Meet Danjin. She's one of the 4-star characters you'll meet early on in Wuthering Waves.
I still gotta comment and say that is one of the cleanest transitions I've ever seen pulled out of like an anime style gacha game like that. Like that preview, so much taste, so tasteful.
But if you thought you knew her before, think again. It seems that Danjin has changed a lot, perhaps in response to criticism about her personality previously. Let me take you all the way back to Wuthering Waves' first closed beta test.
Oh,
Danjin was
back.
a kind girl who placed a lot of importance on protecting those around her. She
Okay.
considered her found family to be real family and would protect them no matter the cost.
Based.
I'm willing to give everything in exchange for it.
Her big, soulful eyes would
Why
look rather
would
empty
they
at
do that
times.
edit?
In battle, her demeanor changed completely and she became aggressive and bloodthirsty. A real berserker type character. And while
I love those dual swords. Those dual swords are just like, they look so good.
for this outwardly cutesy character to belie a much darker interior, it wasn't
It kind of reminds me of Lucia Lotus a little bit, actually. Because Lucia Lotus, when you trigger her ultimate skill, she pulls out the second dual blade as well. It's actually very reminiscent of that, now that I think about it. I don't think I've made the connection before.
handled without its problems. Back then, during the era of the first closed beta test, the website clearly stated that Danjin had dissociative personality disorder. In fact, there was a lot of emphasis on her official announcement about her mental health.
That would explain the psychotic nature that we've been seeing sneak through.
In practice,
And that's a great expression for like that insanity, just gotta say.
however, Danjin was pretty close to a yandere archetype, with her extreme attachment to people and objects that she loved, and her extreme desire to destroy anything that got in their way.
Don't worry, I can fix her.
Understandably, these flippant, stereotypical depictions of mental health caused some concern at the time. There's another factor that made it feel a bit off as well, and that is the fact that Danjin spoke in third person.
Was there really controversy around that? I don't remember hearing almost anything about that aspect of her personality. That feels kind of niche to me. Let me know in the comments down below if you remember hearing words about that. I don't.
That's an anime tropey thing that I find never works well in English because it's so infantilizing. And when you combine that with a character who's supposed to suffer from poor mental health, you just end up with this really strange infantilized stereotype.
This is so good. Oh, promise me you won't tell anyone. Danjin will be a good girl and brush her teeth. Yeah, that hurt to say out loud. So, you know what? That's fair. I agree with that. That's not a great line.
Stereotype that's just gonna make a lot of people uncomfortable.
True.
Now, I felt like she had a lot of cool aspects. Her design is really nice. Her voice actor really gave it her all.
Crimson permeate! So you enjoy hurting others? You're all stained in red, just like Danjin.
At this time, Danjin
That was really creepy. That legitimately sent like shivers up my spine. Jeez Louise. These headphones are too good.
had an elder sister that was spoken about quite a bit, and it seemed that Danjin had this fear of being left behind. She didn't want to be alone. We never saw Danjin's older sister, and frankly, I was surprised it wasn't Yinlin.
It's not? I 100% thought that's what that was supposed to be. Like with the clip and everything. That doesn't make... Okay. That's legitimately shocking.
Considering they have the same type of red hair. But that was then. Fast forward to several months later, we've just seen a character trailer for Danjin. And what's surprising is she is so different. She's almost unrecognizable. Now her eyes are full of life. She looks happier. Instead of a lost girl who became bloodthirsty in the midst of a fight, now Danjin stands for justice. It seems that she wants to help people out and do what's right. In her reports, the emphasis has been taken away from her mental health. Instead, it only mentions that her risk of overclocking is related to her emotional state and that her psychological and physical condition should be monitored. In addition, she should undergo routine counseling and examinations. In the trailer, we're given a glimpse of a dark side, perhaps, to her. But her
and I mean, I did love that contrast, like the very sweet, wholesome life in her eyes, smiling, like she said in the video here. But that hint, it's like just the right amount of sprinkle of like dark undertones in that trailer.
Her true personality remains unclear. In recent announcements, her sister gets no mention at all, so it's unclear if she's still tied to the story at all. However, her jade pendant, which once was related to her sister, is now said to hold great significance for Danjin. This new Danjin leans much more into the cute side than the creepy side, and even her expression during her resonance liberation
that
has
transition
changed.
is
Rather than
great.
looking lost and dazed, she looks determined.
Ooh, that is a good change there. I do really like that, actually. That's a very subtle detail I didn't notice in the trailer. That came through really quickly. That's really good. I do really like that. And I wonder if they dropped all the sister motif stuff because people were confusing it with like Yinling or expecting it to be Yinling too much. So they were just like, this is just causing too many problems with the story. It's not Yinling. They're separate. Just move on. I wonder if that was kind of like a decision they made on the back end.
Sadly, we can tell from the latest footage that the way she delivers certain dialogue has changed, which means we no longer get that really impressive no mercy.
No mercy! No mercy!
What can I say? I was just a huge fan of her delivery before.
Let's hear that again.
No mercy! No mercy!
What can I say?
Nah. I think I like the new one a lot better personally. I don't know. It feels more thematically appropriate. It feels a little too like barbarian unhinged on the previous voice line, where this feels more like the like calm controlled kind of like psycho side, if that makes sense. Here, one more time.
No mercy! No mercy!
What can I say? I was just a huge
I'm happy
fan
with the
of
change.
her delivery before, but I get that it's not what they're going for anymore. Perhaps they'll try to explore issues of mental health in a different way going forward, in a more subtle way, more realistic. However, the best change, in my opinion, is based on the voice lines we've been able to see so far on her announcement page. It seems that she speaks in first person now. I love
that's
that for
nice.
her. She deserves it.
Appreciate
It just
that.
sounds so odd when they make anime girls speak in third person. And notably, they don't do that with anime boys either. It's always the girls. Encore also shared.
Yeah, that's probably just like a cultural thing and like a language thing that just doesn't translate well to English audiences. Kind of like she said earlier. She hit the nail on the head with the description of like it's infantilizing, which is just like, yeah, got this weird tone to it that I think a lot of like North American audiences don't appreciate. I agree.
This problem, so I'm crossing my fingers for her too. But how do you feel about Danjin now? Do you prefer the old closed beta 1 version or the new version post-criticism? It's also really nice to see that they're taking feedback seriously, not just in gameplay,
Agreed.
but in writing as well.
I agree with that.
Unless they're trying to pull the rug out from under us, they've shown that they're willing to completely change a character's personality for the sake of the fans. And that's always something I think is admirable. But if you want to learn about another character from Kuro's upcoming game, we'll tell you all about Alto in this video.
I think if they decide to continue on with like some more of those like yandere tendencies that she had mentioned earlier in the video that are part of like Danjin's personality, I don't personally see that as an issue. I think, how do I say this nicely? I think it might have been maybe some issues with translation there. Like, I think the tone they were always trying to give to the character is that she's got some kind of psychotic undertone that's going on with her mentally. And whether that's through like a dissociative, like kind of like secondary personality, or it seems to be if she's at risk at overclocking, that psychotic side starts to come forward, that it's got this weird like obsession with violence is kind of what we're seeing there. Like the touching the blood in the face, the smiling. It's like we're seeing like hints of that in there. And if they want to keep that as like part of the character in some way, which it seems they are, I don't personally see an issue with that. I think that's totally fine. It seems like they've removed some of the obsessive side of like the yandere kind of like elements there, which I think is like totally okay. I think overall, I like a lot of the changes. I think that it's just a good step in refining the character a little bit more into its own personality. I personally like the voice acting changes that we've heard so far. She sounded a little too barbarian-y, like I said earlier, of like just that, like she's about to rage in Dungeons and Dragons when she's screaming that no mercy line. And I like the more refined delivery of the new VA. And I don't know if it's a different voice actor. I haven't actually checked that out. But either way, I still really like the delivery of the new one overall. But let me know what you guys think in the comments down below. Do you think I'm out of pocket, a little off base here? Or do you agree and you think the changes are actually really good and you also like them as well? Love to hear from you guys in the comments down below as we continue to get closer to the Wuthering Waves release. If you made it this far in the video, thank you so much for watching. I greatly appreciate you. Make sure to drop a like and subscribe on the channel, guys. I would greatly appreciate that. Thank you, and we'll see you next time.